This is the story of Jack the Bachelor. Jack the Bachelor, known as Jack Ryan with his formal name, was born in County Wexford and moved to Rush in his early childhood days with his family into a small village town in the main street of Rush, County Dublin. Jack's legacy is known all around Rush, all around North County Dublin to this day. Jack is a well-known pirate in the trading industry from the UK and Ireland. His early childhood days in the Rush, County Dublin wasn't a bad one. He had a nice small village in the town centre, and his friends that he grew up around had good influence on Jack. But that did not change the fact that his outcome of his life, the vast landscape of Rush, County Dublin, with all its fields and its coastal line, was a gold mine for Jack to store his treasures and be away from the authorities if he needed to do so. Jack, however, was smart enough to not only use Rush, he used the surrounding towns of Skerries and Balbriggan to store his loot and his gold that he achieved from the British Army. He lived on the main street of Rush, which is now known as Jack the Bachelor's, which is a cafe and the centre of Rush. It was once Jack the Bachelor's small household with his family, but nowadays it is a nice cafe where people can go into and learn about the history of Jack himself. Considering Rush is not far from Dublin Port, it was a perfect and ideal location for Jack to get away and see any incoming cargo from the shorelines of Rush. He used Lamb Bay a lot, which is a small island off the coast of Rush. For any incoming cargo from the UK, he was able to see this. He also used coves. Coves were really important for Jack, considering he could hide in them. He had small boats, and when he would go into these coves, he would go up into the shore and store his gold along any caves within the vicinity. Jack was seen as a fisherman in Rush, which he used to harbour quite a lot to store his small boats, but every so often he'd decide to rob the boats from Rush, County Dublin, and use them for his crimes. He also used an estuary in Rush, which was really important for Jack's getaways. This estuary was one of the main locations where Jack stored all of his boats before any crimes that he committed during this time in his reign. Jack also used a small little town village just north of Rush, which is called Lochshinny. Lochshinny is basically just a harbour in a cove, but Jack used it a lot, again to store his treasures from the authorities when he needed to do so. It was great cover and could not be seen from the Dublin ports all over Ireland. As we can see here, this is where I zoom in on whereabouts Jack would have been storing his gold the most. It is just north from Lochshinny. It is a small copper mine that used to be used back in the days, and Jack used it to store his treasures whenever he needed to do so. Of course, the copper mines are not used nowadays, but there are footage of when low tide is here. You can go inside and you can explore them. Maybe there mightn't be any treasure, but certainly they're dark caves and really important to the reign of Jack when he got all his treasure and stored them in these caves. Finally, we come to the resting point of Jack. He was buried in a small graveyard just off the north of Rush called Kinnear. We did, however, find his gravestone, where Jack would be put to rest, considering he was executed in the UK because of his crimes in piracy.